Today is going to be really fun because we're testing the cheapest driver that I played all year up against the most expensive driver that I played all year, and there is a wild card. In this corner, we've got the Powerbilt XP7. This driver I bought on Amazon just a couple of weeks ago for $44.99. It's the cheapest driver on the Amazon platform and the cheapest driver that I've tried all year. In this corner, I've got the Docus Design Reloaded 701 edition. This is a special edition. It's a limited release. Only 777 pieces of this, and it costs 158,000 yen, which is $1,046 and some change. So we've got a driver under $50. We've got a driver over $1,000. We're gonna compare these two here. Now, if we take a look at the Powerbilt XP7, if you look very closely at this driver, there are some imperfections that I got right out of the box. In fact, this little chip here on top, when I was unwrapping the club, I found this little chip. If you look at the detail of something like this, a cheap driver, you can see paint kind of smears. It's also not a very smooth edge. It's not sanded or anything like that. The metal kind of looks unfinished. The paint fill in the letters and numbers here on the driver, just not super crisp. You've got a kind of a cheap shaft on this thing. It's Powerbilt shaft, so it's not even really a name brand, or maybe it's a white labeled name brand. It is 68 grams. It tells you a torque number, which I've never seen before really, but 4.0 is the torque. And you can see this is a stiff flex. Also, you can see right there, this shaft is made in China. Now, a lot of shafts made in Asia or China. That's not a big deal. Again, kind of a cheap grip. It's Powerbilt branded as well. It's a little on the short side, actually, from what I can tell. And it does have some grip to it, but this would not last. This is the type of material that's just not going to last. Also, you can see there no adjustability in the shaft, or there's no sliding track, anything to make this draw or fade bias, nothing like that. There's no adjustability at all. It is what it is. And by the way, this driver has a very draw biased face to it. So if you already kind of struggle with the hooks, this wouldn't work. But if you're struggling with the slice, that's what this driver really is for. Now, what are you gonna get out of a $1,000 driver? Well, first of all, you're not gonna get any imperfections on the paint job. Smooth transition from this titanium face into the paint. There's no rough edges. There's no paint that is kind of out of place there. You can see this is a much more intricately designed groove pattern here on the face. Of course, there's adjustability built into the hosel. I can go all the way from -1 degree of loft on this driver all the way to +2, and there's a number of different draw and fade settings built into it. You've also got some adjustable weights here that you can change out or customize. The real star of the show here with this driver, though, is the shaft. This is a completely custom painted shaft. You're not going to get one shaft that looks exactly like the other. This is called the Radar 2. This shaft alone, if you were just to buy this shaft from Haraken or Docus Design, the manufacturer of this club, this shaft alone is going to be over $600. So in terms of premium shafts, this is as good as it gets. Now, there are different weights and things like that, but this one is 45.75 grams, which is extremely, extremely light, but it's also very rigid. This is also a stiff shaft. So you can get a much lighter shaft because the tolerances in the production process are that much better. And again, this thing is just absolutely beautiful. Now, I said there was a wild card, and this is it. I'm going to also test these drivers up against the TSR3, really the most expensive driver from the big name brands. So you've got a niche brand there in Docus, but how will that also compare to a big name brand in Titleist? If we take a look at this driver as well, same thing like the Haraken. The paint job is not going to have any imperfections. Now, this driver's gotten some wear because I've used it for a season here, but very, very intricate pattern there to the grooves, of course. And then you've got some milling here. This face is actually milled. There's a pattern there if you look really closely. It's absolutely beautiful. The paint is perfect. Again, adjustability in that head. This actually has a sliding weight, so you can put a little bit more weight towards the toe or towards the heel. Again, dialing how that driver comes through during impact there. The shaft on this one is going to be a more common shaft that you're going to see, of course, in a big box golf store. This is a Hazardous counterbalance shaft, 50 grams, mid-spin, also a stiff shaft. So yeah, all three shafts are going to be a little bit different. There's no way for me to put the same shaft on all three heads just by the sheer fact that the Powerbilt doesn't allow you to change out shafts. Now, before I actually start the testing, let me tell you about the technology I'll be using here today because it's a big moment here on Let's Play Through. So many of you know that for ages I've had the Bushnell Launch Pro, but today I've got something very special from my friends over at PlayBetter.com. They were kind enough to send me a GC Quad. This is an optical camera based system with no less than 4 cameras on it. That's why they call it a GC Quad, which is going to give us very accurate numbers. Now, as you know, I get all my technology at PlayBetter.com because not only do they have the best prices, that's one thing, but really, they've got the best customer service. I've had so many folks from the Let's Play Through community reach out to me and tell me how amazing their experience was with PlayBetter.com, the customer service, if they had a tech support issue. They're a family-owned business. They're people who really care about golfers out there. And if you're gonna buy your golf technology, I highly recommend you do it there. I've got some links down below. All right, it's time to get into the testing. All right, so we're gonna hit all 3 drivers here. I'm gonna try to hit comparable shots as much as possible. I am a mere mortal, but I will do my best. This is the TSR3. It's up first. It will give us a really good baseline. Pushed it just a little bit, but I hit that pretty center of the club face. I've actually got stickers that we have applied to all of the clubs here, and the GC Quad can tell us exactly where that strike is. Club head speed there was 97. Ball speed was 140. My carry was 226, my total was 246. I don't have the numbers jacked up here or the conditions too fast and firm. It's just right out of the box here with the GC Quad. Backspin there, 1,749 RPM. The efficiency or the smash factor, 1.45, which is pretty good number. 1.5 is going to be the best you could possibly get. That is the USGA R&A legal limit. All right, swing 2 here. Another good one. Now that's just a slight baby draw right down the middle. That carried a long way. I hit that dead center of the club face. Our ball speed was 146, coming off 100 mile per hour club head speed, so I got the number up there pretty high. In terms of efficiency, 1.46, another very good number. That carried 245, rolled down to 269, and that backspin number, 2244 RPM. That's nearly perfect. That's exactly what I like to see. I'm gonna hit one more, and then we're gonna switch to our most expensive and cheapest driver. Now that one I hit a little higher up on the club face. It wasn't my best strike, but pretty forgiving driver nonetheless, and we got some good distance there, rolling out to what looks like 263. Club head speed was 99, the ball speed was 145. My carry was 242, my total distance, like I said, 264. The efficiency, the best we've had, and I thought that was a higher club face hit. It was just a little right of center and a little higher up in the club head. But 1.47, great. And 2,598 RPM is the backspin number. 3 very playable shots here out of the TSR. We're gonna switch next here to the Powerbilt. Club head speed 96, ball speed 139. That's actually not horrible. The efficiency there, 1.45, also a decent number. Carried 228, rolled out to 251. The backspin, 2398. I don't think I can generate 100 mile an hour club head speeds with this just based on the shaft itself. I'm doing my best to give the same swing though. That one's pushed off to the right a little bit. Higher up on the club face, like that TSR strike I told you about that went a long way. It went like 260 plus. This was basically the same part of the club head, but you can see the results weren't quite as good. Club head speed 95, ball speed 136. The carry 222, total 240. Our smash factor there 1.43, so consistently lower than the TSR. And the backspin there, it's not bad, 2680, a little higher than I'd like to see in general. 22, 23 is where I like to live for the most part, but it's not horrible. It's not 3,000 like we saw before. Let me give this one more good whack. Yeah, that's pretty good. You can see that's that nice baby draw. Again, a little higher up on the club head, but not too bad. And the results are passable. Maybe 10 yards different than the Titleist, but they're passable. Club head speed 97, that's the best we've had. Ball speed 138. The efficiency 1.42. The carry 229. The total 251. The backspin 2253. Probably the best number we've seen. Now again, I'm taking as consistent of a swing as possible with this, and you are not seeing the club head speed numbers. That really does come down to shaft, guys. All right, there's going to be different kick points with better shafts. You're going to be able to dial it in. With this one, we just can't. So similar swings, club head speed down just a little bit. All right, now we're going to go to our boutique driver, the Docus Design, see if this will blow these two away. Now this is a loud driver. Japanese love their loud drivers. It's different from the US market. We kind of like a thud. They really like a big loud bang. So you're going to hear it here with this one. Now lower trajectory, but it's kind of rising. It's a decent result. Roll down to 249. The carry there was 220. The club head speed was 99. The ball speed was 144. That's really good ball speed. I think if we would have got just a little bit more loft, we would have seen a little bit more carry there. Efficiency, a good number there as well, 1.46. In the spin, bang on where I like it. 2265 backspin, 2300 total spin. That was relatively center of the club face, by the way, just slightly towards the heel, but a pretty decent strike, Let's get two more real good ones and then we'll look at the stats. That was not one. Throwing that one out. I pushed that one, but the numbers are pretty good, and I hit it pretty center, I think. Club head speed was 99, ball speed 144. Again, great ball speed numbers out of this club. The efficiency or the smash factor 1.45. Carried 232, rolled out to 256. Our backspin number 21, 114. So I like that. When you hit this club well, you're gonna get a really good reward out of it. One more. That was pretty darn good strike. It's a little left of target, but it was a nice strike. That one rolled down to 262. Club head speed 101, more like the TSR. In fact, that's the highest club speed we had. Ball speed 147. The backspin number there, 1856. Our efficiency 1.45, carried 235, total 262. All right, now we've got three good swings from all three clubs here. Let's take a look at the stats and see if the money spent was well spent money. Now in terms of the club speed numbers, you can see the Docus was our fastest with that really light 45 gram shaft. I'm getting 99.6 miles per hour club head speed to 98.5 with the TSR, and the Powerbilt really lagging behind there at 95.9. In terms of efficiency, the Powerbilt also lagging behind. Even on center face strikes, it's just not as efficient transferring the energy from the club face to the ball. 1.43 smash factor, 1.46 with both the Docus and the TSR3, so real close there. In terms of ball speed, the Docus wins out, but it also had that higher club head speed, 144.9 miles per hour, just a little bit behind that 1 mile per hour difference with the TSR3. And again, the Powerbilt, it's just not efficient, and the ball speed shows here 137.4. Now, I do want to make note of one thing. When I was out on course, if you saw my on-course review with the Powerbilt, you'll know that I think the Powerbilt really is built for a 90 mile per hour swing. I think that's really the sweet spot for this club. I swing it, as you can see, 95 to 100 most times, so this probably isn't the right shaft for me, but again, I can't change it, so it is what it is. Now, if we look at spin numbers, I think the Docus really was where I like to see it. 2139 RPM, again, 2300 RPM is really ideal. The Powerbilt, not too bad, honestly, 2461, and the TSR3, the most spinny of them all at 2533. Some other stats I like to look at here are going to be peak height. Now, this is pretty darn interesting because the Docus Man, if I could tune this driver to go higher, I think this would fly a whole heck of a lot further. It only went 18 yards on average, but that ball speed number is so high. Again, if I adjust the weighting in this club, I think I could hit it a long way. But as it is, it just didn't quite get off the ground like the others. 26 yards for the TSR3 and the Powerbilt. Very similar trajectories there. That's interesting. Now, in terms of carry, the TSR3, 237 yards. It wins out over all of them. 229 for the Docus and 226 for the Powerbilt. In terms of total distance, this is a number that I really rely on super accurately, but the best one here again was the TSR at 260, with the Docus at 256 yards after the rollout, and the Powerbilt at 247 yards. All right, so pretty interesting stuff here. I don't know if we're seeing a full $1,000 worth of improvement out of the Docus design. In fact, I know we aren't. 3 yards carry difference was the difference. Like I said, I think if I tuned this driver in and I got that peak height up, I maybe got a stiffer shaft, I think we would see considerable difference, probably more on par with the TSR3. And that's why I threw the TSR3 in this mix. It's really set up right for me, and it's got all that adjustability where I can really dial it in. That makes a big difference out on the golf course. With a pretty dialed in swing, I still got 11 yards more worth of carry and faster ball speeds, faster swing speeds. All of that led to better drives. And over a larger sample size, I know you will see a little bit more consistent dispersion there out of the TSR3 as well. The Powerbilt did outperform my expectations, no doubt about it. For $44 driver, it's not the worst driver out there, but golf, being a game of inches, that extra 11 yards is basically going to be a full club, and I know I'm more accurate with an 8-iron than I am with a 7, and I'm more accurate with a 7 than I am with a 6, so on and so forth. So those extra yards are definitely going to come in handy. Do I think you should go out and buy a $44 driver? I don't think so, because you are missing a lot. The quality control on this thing, I don't think it's going to stand the test of time. We already saw a scratch on the paint right out of the box. Over time, this thing is not going to age well, whereas the TSR3 is probably a driver that long term, it's going to cost you a lot more, but it's going to last a lot longer. Of course, the Docus design is going to last you a lot longer as well, because the build quality is just that good. So if you're on the lower budget spectrum of the market, I highly recommend you look secondhand rather than buying new and cheap. And if you're at the top end of the market, I highly recommend you get a fitting so you can really dial it all in. Because again, I think the Docus is probably a little bit better of a driver than the TSR3, but because it's not really dialed in for my game, I was suffering a little bit, especially with that peak height. So just interesting results all around. If you've got more insights that you've gleaned from this video, again, I would love to hear those comments down below. I hope you enjoyed this one. I'll catch you back here next time on another edition of Let's Play Through.